What's up, everyone? Thrift Barringer here, and we got a new face. It's the show of all shows around the association. It's inside the GIAA, and I am proud to present a now big part. You're going to get used to seeing this face throughout baseball and, of course, in the next year. But many people already know him. I'd say he's Mr. GIAA.TV. It's Brett Taylor. Brett, thank you so much for being a part of this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Thrift. It's going to be exciting. Obviously, baseball has been kicking off for the last few weeks, probably ever since March, but things are getting in full swing. We're starting to get to the middle part of the season, and then it's downhill slope all the way to the state championships at Georgia Southern and here in the end of May. So exciting times in the GIAA. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no doubt. And everybody's probably asking, where's Richard? Richard's still a part of this. You'll be seeing him later on the show doing a soccer segment. But Brett Taylor's been doing this for a long time, man. And Brett, I kind of want this opening show and this opening segment right after I pay the bills and shout out some of the sponsors. We're going to get to know Brett Taylor a little bit, get his history for those who don't know, so you can get familiar with him, as you're going to see a lot of him over the next couple of weeks. We got 6 shows, 6 weeks leading into baseball state championships live from Statesboro. But we're presented by the Beck Center. Thank you to Roger Beck and the Beck Center, presenting sponsor for all state championship broadcasts. And glad that we're able to be there. I'm glad he's able to support what we do. Thank you again to Roger Beck and the Beck Center. Brett, you know, you've been a part of GIAA a lot longer than I have, and many people are like, who the heck is Brett Taylor? Brett, go ahead and kind of tell your story and how long you've been involved with the GIAA.
Yeah, so it goes back, 10 years now, and even kind of before that. So started out, the first championship that I ever was a part of in terms of broadcasting was the 2016 baseball state championships. That was at Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville, Georgia. And actually Clint Morgan, who is the athletic director for the association now, called us and was like, hey, we know you and your guys are doing some stuff there with one of our members schools, and saw what we were doing and liked it. And so we came on when it was the GISA. So
right.
And then did for a few years, obviously, probably about 4 years ago or so, the association made the transition from GISA to GIAA and brought in some new member schools, brought in kind of a new branding, a new vibe to the independent schools in the state of Georgia. And we were a part of that as well. And so we helped, along with Mr. Tony Morgan, who I'm sure you've mentioned quite a bit, kind of develop and come up with GIAA.TV. It's been a growing thing ever since back in 2016 when we started broadcasting championships for GISA, and GIAA is just really taking it to the next level. And we've done obviously basketball, football, baseball, softball, and then we've sprinkled in some other things. You've seen cheer, you've seen wrestling. In fact, right. I did cheer going back. It's a funny story. The first cheer event I ever did was at Georgia Southwestern in 2016, I believe. So I go all the way back to that as well. And it's been a growing thing. And honestly, you've been a big part of seeing GIAA.TV kind of grow even more. We brought in a lot of different partners on the broadcast and just trying to bring everybody just that next level of action. If they can't get to the event, we want them to be able to see it and just enjoy it. And even though it may not be the top-notch network broadcast that you see on TV, it's not far off.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Brett. And you're selling yourself short. And long story short, Brett Taylor knows about the GIAA. He knows about it really well, and he is going to give us all the insight, me and him, throughout the baseball season. We'll have Richard joining us doing soccer segments as well. We're going to have on guests. We'll have on the number one team in each one of the classifications heading into the playoffs. So looking forward to having them on next week. We're planning on having on Clint Morgan and Tommy Marshall, some of the commissioners from the GIAA as well. But looking forward to this, Brett. and look forward to having fun. And guess what? You know what? The most fun we get to have is breaking down rankings, and baseball rankings are out. We're going to take a break. When we come back from break, me and Brett are going to dissect 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A baseball rankings, where the team's seated, who's going to be doing what in the playoffs, and more on Inside the GIAA here on GIAA.tv.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
Founded in 1985, the Georgia Independent School Association proudly represents nearly 170 accredited private, independent, and parochial schools across the state. From Tallulah Falls to St. Simon's Island, from Columbus to Augusta, our schools serve over 76,000 students every year. Whether parents are interested in smaller class sizes, more individual attention, a religious-based curriculum, or a safe and structured environment, the GISA provides a strong education, which is the foundation for success. To learn more about the GISA and how they can serve your school, visit us online at www.gisaschools.org.
Love our partnership with the GIAA and the GISA. It's Inside the GIAA here, presented by the Beck Center. Brett Taylor, Thrift, Barringer. Brett, you know you love rankings, man. We love ruffling feathers. And listen, PSA, we didn't put these rankings together. These are straight from GIAA.sports.org. GIAAsports.org. That's the website. You go there, you find the rankings for every single sport. Another heads up, we had nothing to do with these rankings. We're just the guys that are bringing you the message. So, Brett, let's throw up 1A.
Yeah, so
Right.
Taking a look here at the 1A bracket, Thrift, you got some teams that you're used to seeing in here. Obviously, Citizens Christian, they played in the state championship last year. You've got
Right.
Thomas Jefferson as well. We've seen them a lot in state championships. David Emmanuel at 3. You've got Vidalia Heritage at number 4. Heritage Prep at number 5. Robert Toombs, the Crusaders, come in at 6. Flint River, the Wildcats, you're normally used to seeing maybe a little higher in the rankings, but they come in at number 7. FPCA at number 8. Covenant Academy at number 9, and then number 10, rounding things out, John Hancock Academy. And so as you see there, Thrift, it just kind of spans from Citizens Christian, the Patriots having a pretty good season, 14-1 on the year. That's a really outstanding mark. They played in the state championship game last year, and they're going to be tough to beat, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're coming in as the number 1 team. Remember, 12 teams make the playoffs. So of these 10 teams, all of them would be in. And we have 12 teams that make it. I'm sorry, guys, that I meant to have that already up as I'm pulling that right now. Citizens Christian, Thomas Jefferson, David Emmanuel, and Vidalia Heritage. They would all get a first-round bye. But everybody else will have to play in that first round. And looking right now at the rankings, the teams that are the other 2 teams that would be in 11 and 12, when looking right now, as I'm trying to, Fullington Academy and Westwood. Fullington Academy and Westwood would be both the teams that would make the playoffs right now, Brett. Followed by John Hancock, Covenant, Flint River, First Preparatory, Robert Toombs, Heritage, in the top 4 that I made mention. So it'd be Heritage versus Westwood, Robert Toombs versus Fullington, FPCA and John Hancock, Flint River, Covenant in that first round. I'm with you. I think the Citizens Christian is by far the heavy favorite. Thomas Jefferson, what a year they've had. But there is a major difference in the ratings. If you look, Citizens Christians probably could lose out the rest of the year, and they would still be ranked the number 1 team. So really impressed with them, and they're trying to go for another championship here this year. Now, let's take a look at the 2A classification. And, Brett, people keep looking at rankings and I mean at records. And I want to emphasize one more time, because we get people watching all the time that are just now tuning in and want to like, all right, explain these rankings to me. Well, how they do it is strength of schedule and who the teams that you beat have played. That's what matters. So you can see a Sherwood Christian at 10-4, and you're like, how are they behind a team that's 6-13 in Brentwood and Briarwood, who's 9-4? Well, if you look at the rankings right now and strength of schedule, not on the side of Sherwood Christian, they actually have right now a negative 9.1 on their strength of schedule. The other two teams that would be in would be Southland and Windsor. When you look at these rankings right now, Southwest Georgia being ranked number 1, Gatewood, a team that's used to making the championship, comes in at number 2. And how about Johnny Estrada, former Brave, and his Heritage Hawks come in at number 3? What teams stand out to you in this 2A classification, Brett?
Gatewood is always going to be the team, in my opinion. They've won. I know they had a lot of seniors off of the squad that lost down in Savannah one of the first years that I remember when we had transitioned to GIAA. That group that graduated last year, they played in a state championship game 4 straight years.
Are you kidding me? Yep.
And they won 3 in a row. So it's gonna go through Gatewood, in my opinion. I know Southwest Georgia has played them a couple times, come up short. I believe they played them last year and came up short. So those two to me are head and shoulders. And as you said, you've got some others that are used to making runs. Edmund Burke has been standing over the last couple of years. That squad over there in Warrenton has been just hard to handle. And so it's going to be, I think it's going to be Southwest Georgia, Gatewood. Can somebody come up with an upset of one of those two? I don't know, but I'm always going to lean a little bit to Gatewood until they get proven not to be the bully on the block, so to speak.
Yeah, Southwest Georgia, again, 10-5 on the season this year, are the Warriors, and they are led by head coach Adam Benton. Southwest in their own region, having a decent season at 4-0 in region play. And remember, there's a few weeks left in the season. All season ends that first week of May. And then guess what? Playoffs start right after that. I'm going to tell you a team that really intrigues me is Heritage. They have the toughest strength of schedule of anyone in 2A. They have won some games this year that I've been really impressed with. I would not sleep on Heritage at number 3 at 9-9. I'm telling you, there's a reason why a 500 team is that high. It's because they played such a hard schedule, and wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks found a way to be in Statesboro coming up. Now let's talk about the 3A classification, Brett.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, Thrift, Valwood is, if you look at some of the rankings that are out there outside of even GIAA, Valwood ranks pretty high on any association, any classification in the state of Georgia.
No doubt.
So, and then Deerfield Windsor is a team that is always loaded. So starting out at 1, you've got Valwood at 16-2. Deerfield Windsor is at number 2, 11-3. Your number 3 team, Frederica, there 15-5. John Millage is always a tough out at number 4, 12-6. And then Piedmont is a traditional power. They are playing in a AAA ranking where maybe in years past they've been more of a AA size school. So does that affect them maybe a little bit being on the lower end of AAA? I don't know, but they have always played good baseball up in Monticello. And then you've got Pinewood, who is always a tough out, 11-7 on the season at number 6. Lakeview, number 7 at 11-5. Westfield has had an up and down year at 11-10. They beat and hung in against some big teams, but then they've had some really bad outings. I know they took Brookstone down to the wire last week, so I think they're a team that could be dangerous, but I don't know if they quite got the pitching to make a run. Tift Area is always one there at 9 that can cause some trouble as well, but I don't know if they can make a run all the way to the state championship series. And then St. Andrews, obviously, round out things there at 10 at 13-7. So, I mean, you've got, I think, you take a look at these 3 and 4A rankings. 3A is about as stacked as it can be, and I think 4A is probably going to be about the same, Thrift.
Yeah, there's 6 teams that have ratings that are 10 and above. And again, how Max Preps does their ratings, it's a rating system. And there's not many teams in the GIAA that have double-digit ratings. There's 6 of them in 3A, 6 in 4A, none in 2A, and 1 in 1A with Citizens Christian. If you look, Valwood at 17.74 rating, they have a strength that's 5.2, a really tough strength of schedule. They're 16-2. They did beat Calvary last week, so I saw them beat some 4A schools.
Right.
Brett, if you put overall in the state, it would be number 1, obviously, and we'll talk about them here in just a moment, FPD, right. Stratford, Brookstone, Citizens Christian. Valwood is a top 5 team in the entire state, and they've had a great year. Deerfield Windsor is beneath them. Their rating, there's a pretty significant gap between them and Deerfield. I wouldn't sleep on John Millage. Pinewood's a team that we've seen in state championships in the recent memory. Brett, you remember them. They've always been a really good, well-run program. They played a tough schedule. They actually have a tougher schedule than Valwood, Deerfield Windsor, and Frederica, the top 3 teams in 3A. I still would lean Valwood, but I would not sleep on Pinewood. If you tell me the surprise team, that's the team that I would really think could sneak up on some people and catch someone. And remember in baseball, that the other 2 teams that are in, Brookwood and Dominion Christian, that are not on these rankings, Terrell Academy and Westminster would be left out of Schools of Augusta. And top 4 teams, John Millage, Frederica, Deerfield Windsor, and Valwood, all getting byes in that first round. All right, Brett, let's go ahead and let's talk about that 4A classification. The number 1 team in the entire state of Georgia, GHSA or GIAA, is FPD, 19-1. Greg Moore's team, unbelievable. Keon Johnson, he is a phenom that's going to be drafted in the MLB draft. He's already going committed to Vanderbilt and signed. They got Strandmark, who's an elite pitcher. This is about as dominant a team and one of the best teams I've seen come through the GIAA. Doesn't always mean a state championship. FPD's been the number 1 ranked team going into the playoffs the last 2 seasons, and Brookstone's been able to take them down. If you look, there is a major gap between them and Stratford, and Stratford's got the 2nd highest rating out of anybody else in the GIAA behind FPD, and then Brookstone has 4th behind Citizens and Stratford. In my opinion, I think Brookstone's going to eventually be number 2. How are you a 2-time defending champion and you don't get to host throughout the playoffs and your record's better than the team that's in front of you? That one, I don't know if that's how it's going to play out. Right now it is, but I think by the end of the year, Brookstone's going to be 2. I think FPD stays 1. I'm going to tell you a couple teams that I would not sleep on if I were you. Strong Rock and Calvary. Both those teams are feisty. I think they have what it takes to make deep playoff runs. I think they've got enough depth to go 3 series. And if I'm a team, I wouldn't want to play them in a quarterfinals. I know they play each other. Tallulah Falls comes in number 10. George Walton and St. Anne Pacelli are 11 and 12. Bullock right on the outside. But there's a big gap between them and Pacelli. So Pacelli would be in. Bethlehem, Brookstone, Stratford, FPD would all get buys. Brett, your thoughts here on the 4A classification rankings?
Yeah, I think that your argument for Brookstone, I get it from a logic standpoint of what they've done over the last couple of years. I do think the thing that's helping Stratford out, elevate them maybe above the Cougars, is the fact that 2 of those losses for Stratford is to FPD. And one of them is in a game that Stratford led by more than 5 runs for most of the game, and FPD came back. Which FPD did against Tapnell Square as well. So again, I do think that Brookstone, they've got a chance. I like your argument on the schedule there, and they've been pretty consistent this year. I know that they've had some close calls against some teams, but I think the Cougars are going to be, going to be a team that's going to be difficult for Stratford. If everything stays chalk, I would assume the 2-3 would have to play each other in the semifinals, and that's going to be a tough series for either of those squads. I like your thought there on Calvary and Strong Rock. Strong Rock traditionally has been a team, puts the ball in play a lot. They make a lot of good plays on defense. They don't beat themselves. I think the question there is going to be pitching for both of those squads. Can you somehow figure out a way? Do you maybe concede game one? I mean, you don't really concede game one, but maybe you shuffle your rotation around a little bit so that you maybe get your better pitcher in a game three scenario. Game two becomes ever important in those 3-game series, especially if you're the underdog. Can you scrap out a win in one of the first 2 games of the series, and then maybe you have your ace pitcher pitching in game 3 as opposed to pitching against another ace in game 1? There's always strategy involved in these type of scenarios, and especially when you're the underdog. But, I think right now FPD has proven that not only can they play out in front, but even if you get out on top of them, they can track you down from behind. And they've got a lot of firepower, and not just from the plate, but they've got some pitching. They're obviously very solid defensively. I tell you, a team that's very scary to me with a pitcher in steals that has set the state record in strikeouts this year is Tatton Square. They're 8-8. Because Coach JB Brooks over there does a great job. He's got a pitcher. Can he string together enough hits to keep him in games against some of the big boys? I think that's going to be the question. So this is a strong 4A classification, and it's going to be, I think, it in AAA is going to be a fight to watch for sure in the playoffs to see who comes out on the heap.
Yeah, it's going to be some battles. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out. Region play still underway right now, and some major region games going on. I know Brookstone and Calvert basically playing for their region championship here today. So those are the rankings. I'm glad that we were able to knock them down and talk about them, Brett. As always, we'll be doing that every single week here on Inside the GIAA. We got Richard coming up, and he'll be talking with Ian Jones, who is the head coach over at Stratford. And Coach Ian does a great job last year as our soccer analyst, and he will do a great job as a contributor this year. Looking forward to him and Richard breaking down the rankings, because guess what? We'll be in Macon coming up. State championships, they're already back. It's something like we can't get enough of it. It seems like, Brett. State championships coming up for baseball will be at Georgia Southern. Statesboro, we're back. Welcome. Please be awesome for us. 28th, 29th, and 30th will be there. 26th and 27th will be at Stratford and Macon for the soccer state championships. So for 5 consecutive days, all you're going to be hearing is me, Brett, Richard, and the crew just bloviating and talking about what's happened around the GIAA. All right, Brett, let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back from break, you're going to get with Ian and Richard Holdridge, and they're going to talk all things soccer right here on Inside the GIAA.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
And welcome back to Inside the GIAA. It is now time to talk soccer. And like we did last year, we're going to bring on our soccer correspondent for Inside the GIAA. He is the head soccer coach for the boys team over at Stratford Academy. It is my friend, Coach Ian Jones. Coach, it seems like it was yesterday. We were doing this segment last year. How have you been? It's been a year. And I know that you're excited about being back on Inside the GIAA.
Oh, absolutely. Always love to be out to try and promote the game of soccer. It's not. Yeah, people always say, we need to do more, as much as we can, to help promote the game. And at this stage in my career, that's what I've tried to focus on.
Absolutely, Coach. And for people who did not watch the show last year, just give us a little bit about your background, your soccer background, how long you've been coaching at Stratford, and just give us some of the knowledge that you have as far as, the game itself, playing overseas, the overall soccer experience that you have, Coach.
Right. Well, I moved here from England in 1986, and I attended Stratford Academy until I graduated in 96. I played soccer here as a goalkeeper. And then I went on to play college at Bruton Parker College, and then now Queens University of Charlotte. And I was fortunate enough to be an assistant coach and the goalkeeper coach at Queens. And then after that, I spent a couple of years, doing the odd job, trying to make that million right after college. But my passion's always been coaching. And I moved back to Macon in 2003, and have just been heavily involved in the soccer community here through club soccer. Former coach at Mountain Sales Academy for 14 years, and then I came back to Stratford in 2019. And so, but I coaching wise, man, I've probably been coaching since I was about 15, 16 years old. There's just something about being engaged with kids and trying to help them learn the game and fall in love with the game. So, and like I said earlier, my job, that's something that I take a lot of pride in now at this stage in my career, where I'm really trying to, grow that love for the game, for our coaches, for our parents, so they can understand the game a little bit more. So that, happy to be on board.
Absolutely, Coach. And I know that with you being the head coach at Stratford, you got to focus on the season, but you really have taken time out of your busy schedule to become our soccer analyst. So we're going to have you on every week for Inside the GIAA. We're going to be going over rankings of all three classifications for the girls and the boys, and we're going to preview that championship, which is going to be in your own backyard, a beautiful facility at Stratford Academy. I'm hoping to be there. I was there 2 years ago. I was not there last year. I didn't get a chance to see you face to face, but you guys do such a great job hosting the soccer championships. Here's what we're going to do, Coach. We are going to go over the rankings, and obviously we're going to start with AA girls. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that up for you. And right now, Central Fellowship out of Macon is 13-1. Westminster Christian at 10-1. Trinity Christian 9-1. Georgia Christian out of Valdosta 8-2. St. George at 7-1. Robert Toombs 5-2. Heritage out of Noonan 6-5. Sherwood Christian, they are 6-6. First Preparatory out of Hinesville 7-8. Holy Spirit Prep at 5-6. Is there anything that jumps out to you, Coach, as far as the 2A girls?
Well, it's funny. You got Central Fellowship and Westminster Christian back in the top two spots. Central Fellowship, I think, they're the defending state champions. I have got to see them play once. They played Stratford early in the year, and Stratford gave them their only loss. And that game, if you talk to Coach Kate and Coach Teddy Tanner over at Central Fellowship, that game really wasn't a true representation probably of how good either team were, because Stratford kind of did dominate that game. But certainly I think you're going to have those two teams battling it out again. But certainly I think Trinity Christian and Georgia Christian will certainly push those two schools to the limit. But I think Central Fellowship, I still think, will be the favorites on paper. But again, that paper doesn't mean anything until you get on the field.
Right. All right, 2A boys. Heritage 10-0-1. Augusta Prep at 2, Sherwood Christian at 3, Trinity Christian at 4, Holy Spirit Prep at 5, Central Fellowship at 6, St. George at 7, First Preparatory at 8, Westminster Christian at 9, and rounding off the top 10 is Furtop Prep out of Ackworth. Your thoughts on the 2A boys?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Heritage, they gave us a loss early in the year, and I tell you what, Heritage is a very, very strong team. I think right now they are the favorites in 2A, but certainly I wouldn't count out Holy Spirit or even Sherwood Christian, and and Augusta Prep. I mean they've obviously stepped up their game this year, but based on what I saw against Heritage by far should be the favorites in that classification. But again that's why you have the playoffs, and I certainly feel like with Augusta Prep, Sherwood Christian, Trinity Christian, and Holy Spirit, they're certainly not going to lay down for them either. So I do anticipate a good challenge there for Heritage.
All right, let's go to 3A girls. Frederica at number 1, Terrell Academy 2, Brookwood 3, Westminster Schools of Augusta at number 4, John Millage, always a great program in 3A in any sport, at 5, Deerfield Windsor out of Albany at 6, Lakeview Academy at 7, St. Andrews at number 8, Westfield School at number 9, and Tift area at 10. Obviously, you've got some teams that are in Stratford's region. John Millage is one of them. Talk about your thoughts on 3A girls.
Well, and it's John Millage. I mean, they're playing in a very tough region. So they've got 2 losses to Stratford, and I think they've played FPD twice now as well. So I mean, those are 4 tough losses on their record. So their record's really kind of probably not as accurate in regards to how good they are. But I still think Frederica, I mean, historically speaking, on the girls' side, they're such a strong program. They've done a great job, rebuilding when they've lost players to graduation. So, in regards, the rankings are pretty much very indicative of where teams are. But certainly, I would see a mix up in those, some of those rankings from between 2 and 5. I think between 2 and 5, those are the schools that will, you're probably going to see some movement, but before season's end.
3A boys. Now, there are only 7 teams in 3A boys. Westminster Schools at 1, Brookwood 2, St. Andrews at 3, Valwood at number 4, Frederica at 5, Deerfield Windsor at 6, and then Lakeview Academy at 7. Obviously, record-wise, we only have 7 teams in 3A. I know that certain teams like Westfield School, John Millage, they don't have soccer programs, do they?
No, they actually have JV programs this year. We've Stratford. We've played Westfield a couple times, and they're really working hard to try and reestablish a varsity program, and that takes time. They could probably try to field a team, but it's very difficult to build a program if your team's not very strong, and then get kids to come out and play on a team that's not going to be very strong at the varsity level. So I think they're doing the right thing in taking some time to to build that program at the JV level before to generate that interest. And John Millage is kind of in the same boat. They've lost a lot to graduation over the last 2 years, and so I think they've made a wise decision of to try to reintegrate or reestablish that program at the varsity level by stepping down, generate that interest, so then that way they can be more competitive on the field for the playoffs or for the varsity level.
Yeah, no question about it, Coach. Let's move on to 4A girls, as that 4A girls is there. We go, Stratford. Your team. Talk about Stratford, undefeated. They are the number 1 ranked team. I know their coach very well, with you being the boys coach for Stratford, and we got FPD, Keens Academy, Pacelli, the defending champions, which, by the way, they're taking on Strong Rock next week. That's going to be a massive game. George Walton at 6, Brookstone, who was the runners-up last year, Mount DeSales, Tallulah Falls, and Bethlehem Christian. But let's talk about Stratford, undefeated. You know this program very well. Can they win a state championship in their own backyard this year?
Yeah, I think they've got the tools. Coach Cates, she's put a tremendous amount of work into her program for the last few years, and she's she was disappointed the last 2 seasons to fall in the manner that they did, and they've got such a great core group of players where they've got some goal scorers across the field. So if one player happens to be off, they've got another player that will step up and score those goals for them. So they've the tough thing on the girls' side is finding good competitive games in our area and then traveling to getting schools to play, and so that's been difficult for Coach Kate. But they've gone around and they've taken care of business, and they haven't really played down to the level of competition. And obviously they had a big resounding win over FPD early in the year when they beat them 9-0. And certainly I think FPD they play again tomorrow, and I think that game will be a lot tighter game. FPD were dealing with a lot of injuries. I think Pacelli's record is not really truly reflective of how good they are, because they are playing a very difficult schedule that they're very blessed to have them and Brookstone very blessed to have some really strong competition in their area with some local GHSA schools as well as some schools in Alabama. So some of those losses, they'll pay off for some experience later on in the season. And then obviously Kings Academy has obviously stepped up big time. So I think these rankings, especially from between 2 and 6, you're probably going to see a mix up there. I think Stratford they should probably finish out as the number 1 seed. I don't see anyone on the schedule outside of FPD that should give them any more trouble. So, and I think FPD, Kings Academy, Pacelli, Strong Rock, Brookstone. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the most competitive playoffs that we've seen on the 4A side in several years.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. And by the way, Pacelli does play Strong Rock next week, and then they close out the regular season on May the 1st against Brookstone. It should be interesting, especially when we get to the month of May. We'll have first and second round playoffs. And then, of course, the end of May, Stratford Academy is hosting the GIAA championships for all classifications. Finally, the 4A boys. This is where you're the coach of Stratford right now. Talk about Mount DeSales Academy. They are ranked number 1. They have surprised everybody with an 8-0 record. Calvary was at one point the number 1 team in 4A, but they've had a couple of losses. The records don't reflect what happened last night. These are the records according to Max Preps, but Calvary did lose to Pacelli last night in a shootout. So I think Pacelli's going to leapfrog Calvary. Your team, Stratford Academy, and we talk about them. Tallulah Falls, 9-1 record, having a great season. Brookstone. I'll tell you, Brookstone has been the surprise team. They only won 4 games last year. They got a goal scorer by the name of E.J. Surra, has over 50 goals in his career. He's looking like to be a special player. Cristo Rey, we're talking about a small school in downtown Atlanta that doesn't really have the facilities, but they're off to a hot start. Fulton Science, 8-4. Bullock Academy at 6-3. George Walton at 8-2. Your thoughts on the 4A boys?
Yeah, obviously, Mount DeSales has done a great job this year. I mean, I certainly felt like, coming off last season, they didn't graduate anyone. They were going to be a very, very difficult team. Well, they were returning a lot of pretty much their entire starting lineup. They did, they've got a international student who joined them this year that he's phenomenal. So they've got some really strong pieces, with Alex Roseborough at center back. And then, Liam Frawley up top. I mean, he's just a left-footed goal scorer. And, when you've got someone that can shoot the ball from pretty much any distance, I mean, he's been really, a strong player for them. And I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in goals right now. So Mount DeSales has done really well. And Calvary and Pacelli, I mean, they're where they're always going to be. Yeah, they're always going to be in the mix at 2 and be it 1, 2, or 3. And obviously we're at 4. I think that's probably very reflective of who we are as a program. And then obviously the Tallulah Falls has rebounded again from they graduated quite a bit from last year, but they've responded well with a 9-1 record. And obviously, like you said, Brookstone has done really well and has had some big wins. So I think this is going to be a very competitive bracket on the boys side in the out of all the classifications. I don't think there's a clear number 1 team yet, because if you look at the top 6 teams, Calvary and Pacelli have played one another, or will have played each other twice during the regular season. Mount DeSales and Stratford will have played twice. Tallulah's not played any of those schools, so they'll meet somebody. We'll actually play Cristo Rey later in the season. Fulton Science and Tallulah Falls actually have played. Bullock will have played. They've played Mount DeSales and lost in overtime, and they lost to Stratford. And then, so I think it's going to be a very competitive bracket across the board.
Yeah, no question about it. And by the way, Calvary's 2 losses in the region, they ended on penalty kicks. So in region play, you can't have ties. So we'll see how Mount DeSales, they're right now undefeated. And I know that it'll be interesting to see how the bracket shapes up. Coach, as always, we appreciate you being our soccer correspondent here on Inside the GIAA. And as always, we do appreciate, having you back on as we have a couple more shows previewing the playoffs. And and having that bracket. I tell you, it's a great time to be a soccer fan, especially with the World Cup. I know you got to be excited about Atlanta hosting 8 World Cup matches, but yeah, this is the year where everybody gets excited about soccer.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the world's most popular sport. I argue with my wife all the time about soccer being the world's most popular sport. More people watch the World Cup than any other sporting event in the world combined. And so we're going to have a lot of fans in this country, and really North America and Mexico and Canada as well. And so it's going to be an exciting time for the game of soccer to continue to promote the game. And ticket prices are a little expensive, but either way, the fact that you're going to be able to see games in your own time zone, because normally it's usually like some wacko time zone where the games are 5 to 8 hours behind schedule, with a time difference and all that. So it's going to be an awesome time. So I really hope people watch and see the culture of the game and how different it is for various different countries.
Absolutely, Coach. And we look forward to having you back on Inside the GIAA next week.
All right. Sounds great, man. Appreciate it, Richard.
All right. That is the Stratford Academy soccer coach, Ian Jones, and he's also our soccer correspondent for Inside the GIAA. Thank you once again for watching the portion of Inside the GIAA. We're going to go ahead and send it back to Thrift and Brett as they wrap up the show here on Inside the GIAA.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association. GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
Great job, Richard. Thank you, Coach Ian, and glad they were able to get that soccer segment in. As I may mention, we're going to be doing this every single Wednesday night, same format, same great people. We're going to have on Richard and Ian doing their soccer. Me and Brett break down baseball. We got tennis coming up. Golf state championships are also coming up. Brett, track and field state championships are coming up. We got a ton of sports that are just around the horizon. Let's first start with golf. Golf state championships coming up April the 27th at the Brickyard Golf Club in Macon and the Harbor Club in Eatonton. So that is April the 27th. Brett, will have the golf state championships. How about tennis state championships that are going to be happening coming up here in just a few weeks? And tennis are going to be April 20th and 21st. That's next week. From Stratford Academy at John Drew Smith and Randy Stevens Tennis Center in Macon. And then at that same complex, the state tournament, April 28th and 29th. We talked about baseball. We talked about soccer. Remember, no softball. How about track and field? When are theirs? April 30th through May 2nd at Strong Rock Christian School in Locust Grove. So a ton happening in the next couple of weeks. Clint Morgan, Robert Slocum, Kent Copeland, they're going to be super busy, aren't they, Brett? And we'll be able to bring you the streams for soccer and baseball. Any thoughts for these state championships coming up, Brett?
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with me with announcing the golf, just getting through with the Masters, kind of in that mode right now. So that'll be interesting to see. I did see some stuff on the socials that had some of the member schools doing their region tournaments this week and getting those championships decided so that they can figure out who's moving on to the state championships. Right. And then tennis is a pretty cool atmosphere. You've got obviously you said singles and then you've got the team events as well. It almost kind of harkens back to what you have in wrestling and in other sports like that, where you're looking to get an individual state championship, but then you're also looking to try to score those points for your team and try to bring home a team championship. I think an individual championship is cool, but there's nothing better than winning a championship as a part of a team. And that's what these events and GIAA presents for teams, for schools, and for fans alike, just to be able to kind of show off that pride and win a championship that you'll be talking about for years to come. So it's exciting to see all the hard work come to fruition here at the end of the school year, and just finish the 2025-2026 school year off with a bang, so to speak. So I'm excited, can't wait for it, and obviously we'll cap everything off with the soccer and baseball championships, Thrift.
Yeah, at track and field again, coming up April 30th and through May 2nd, Strong Rock Christian School. Tennis coming up in just a few weeks. Golf coming up in just a few weeks. So looking forward to seeing them, and of course baseball and soccer. What a show it was! Had a lot of fun. Presented by the Beck Center. Thank you to Roger Beck and the Beck Center for presenting all state championships, not just GIAA.TV. And we'll be back again better than ever next week. Thank y'all so much for watching. This is Inside the GIAA.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.TV, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.